Kirstell here today with a discussion around a hot topic that doesn't get a lot of attention outside us core IT and infrastructure geeks, but storage and the future of storage and success in the petabyte era with Eric Herzog from Infinidat. Eric, how are you?
Great, Evan. Nice to meet you and glad to be on the show.
Great to meet you. We have met before, but it seems like a lifetime ago. You've been around the enterprise storage space for what, 35 years or so?
Yeah, almost 40 years now. I'm probably older than a lot of the people who will listen to this video.
Indeed. And prior to Infinidat, you're in a variety of companies. We won't go into your whole bio, but tell us about maybe you and your background, and not just a storage expert and industry insider, but one of the top marketeers in our space. So congratulations for that. That was no small task. Tell about your trajectory over the years.
So I have done, well, you're going to laugh. I actually started as a swimming pool contractor, working for my college roommate who was an electrical engineer, went to work at Intel for 1 year, hated it, and bought a swimming pool company back in Palo Alto, California. So he hired me as his general manager. And then after a couple of years, I decided I need to get in high tech. So I ended up at a small storage startup doing external subsystems for the Mac and for SGI. And I've just evolved ever since. My focus has always been marketing and sales, and marketing in a broader sense. Some people think marketing is just about data sheets and press releases, but in every company, I've always run the product management team. So, technical marketing, product management, strategic planning have been the focus that I've done. In addition to, in several of the startups, I've actually run sales, and you're going to laugh, but in one company, I was even the CFO for 18 months while we were raising a $17 million round. So the background is broad, and it's kind of split roughly half at large companies, Seagate and Maxtor on the hard drive side, IBM twice, and EMC. But then also 7 startups, and now Infinidat, which is a small company, but we're not a startup anymore. So that's kind of the background from a company size and what I've done from a function. Started in high tech as a product manager.
Interesting trajectory. Wow, really great to learn more about your background here. And also, Infinidat looks like the most exciting company in your career, at least from the outside looking in. Why is that? Why is Infinidat so much in the news? You seem to be in the right place at the right time for where the enterprise is going, not just where it is. So tell me more.
So what we do is, first of all, from an analyst perspective, for example, we've been a 5-time leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for primary storage. We are the only small company. Everybody else are much larger companies. So what we've done is we're very focused on what I would call the global Fortune 2000 and associated government agencies. We have state governments, national governments that are customers, large cities as well. We also have a niche where we're very strong, and we have publicly announced this. Over 30% of our revenue comes from the service provider space. Wow. CSPs, MHPs, MSPs. Now, these are not IBM Cloud or Google or Amazon, although we do work with Amazon Outposts. We do have a relationship, and we have some exciting products coming out at the end of May, which we'll be announcing around hybrid cloud storage, and what we'll be doing there. But right now, we're a very powerful foundational element for mid-sized and small CSPs, for both storage as a service, backup as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure. And part of the value from their perspective is, we're exceedingly fast. On our all-flash array, we're looking at 35 mics of latency, which means you get more and more workloads, or from a service provider perspective, more or more customers on the physical asset, which for them helps them be profitable, and helps, of course, the small guys and mid-sized guys compete against Microsoft and Amazon and Google, because if they didn't have that. And then we're very focused on the end user side on, again, these very large accounts. We're petabyte scale. We have a hybrid array, the InfiniBox, the original product. We have the InfiniBox SSA all flash. We have a very high-end purpose-built backup appliance, the InfiniGuard, and that works with all the major backup vendors. So Veeam, Veritas, Commvault, IBM Spectrum Protect, Oracle, RMN. In fact, we have several customers and cloud providers that use the InfiniGuard with multiple different backup packages, which you can do. So it gives them ultimate flexibility. And as you know, because you've covered the enterprise for a long time, very few enterprise shops only use one backup package, right? It's very common for them to use 2 or 3. So the InfiniGuard can be used for that. So that's it. And we're known, especially, in fact, Gartner highlighted it in the Magic Quadrant, what we do from a white glove service support. So we have AI ops technology built into the array that scans everything. And both in the Gartner Peer Insights and our own public references, several customers talk about they've had the product for 4 or 5 years. They've never had to touch it because our AI ops technology scans the array, makes adjustments to the array. And if there is a real problem, several have pointed out, I didn't even know I had a bad power supply until Infinidat sent me a note or called me and said, you need to replace power supply in this array, because we track all of that stuff and we do it proactively. So the white glove service has been a huge differentiator for us. And think about it, 26% of the Fortune 50, the 50 biggest companies in the world, buy from us. And we're not a global Fortune 500 on our own. We're a small company, but we deliver that value, both a business value and, of course, clearly a technical value.
Yeah, all the trend is towards increased automation in the workplace, and clearly you just can't hire, storage experts and IT staff these days, despite the recession, and so yeah, it's amazing what you've built or baked into the product. You're also known for, this idea of cyber storage resilience, which
Right.
is really interesting. I hear you talking about it all the time. Explain why these two worlds of security and storage are fundamentally linked together.
Sure. Well, the first thing is almost all enterprise data, large companies, and even small companies, it ends up on storage somewhere, mostly on-prem still, but somehow some companies also in the cloud. So if I'm the master cyber criminal, and I'm not, but if I was, I would make sure I was controlling that storage surreptitiously, right? I'm not going to knock on the door like I'm King Kong and say, I'm going to steal your data or destroy your data. It's all done secretively. It's all over the press. As you've seen from the security analyst's point of view, they estimate that in 2023, cybercrime will cost the world $8 trillion. And the large enterprise has an average attack profile of over 1,100 attacks per week. So it's going to get through eventually. So you need not only protection of the edge, the network, like what Cisco includes in Juniper and in the network scanning, and of course the servers and the apps, but everything ends up on storage. So if you don't have a cyber resilient storage as part of your corporate cybersecurity strategy, you're leaving a big vulnerability. Remember, it's not if you get attacked, it's when and how often. And they're going to get through it.
Really scary. I mean, every day you see this headline,
right?
Insert your company name here. And sadly, a lot of these companies are hospitals, they're healthcare organizations, your critical care providers. I mean, this is not a laughing matter, to say the least. So what else is really top of mind? I mean, obviously, cloud is something we talk about day in, day out. And, hybrid cloud is still a fundamental part of enterprise IT architectures.
Right.
Where do you see that balance between public cloud, hybrid cloud, and everything in between?
So what we're seeing with the large enterprises is a strong move to hybrid cloud. There are a few that really want to go public cloud and go all the way. But when you sit there with a calculator and look at this, so I would argue that the public cloud is the ultimate razor and razor blade. They get you in very cheap capacity. What do you get? 4 nines. Okay, if you're an enterprise, you have applications that are 5 nines, 6 nines, 7 nines, and obviously you also may want 100% availability, which, by the way, we happen to guarantee in writing to our accounts we'll give them 100% availability. Well, every time you ask for that, whoever the cloud provider is, they charge more. Then you want performance. Okay, there's base performance. Oh, wait, you want more performance. Well, guess what? You want this level of performance, it costs you this level, this level, this, and then certain levels of performance you'll never get. And then the real secret is the in and out, the ingress and the egress. For highly transactional workloads, every time you move data back and forth, you are getting charged. So in fact, a large major university in the United States did an analysis because I knew the CIO from my days at EMC. This is when I was at IBM. And so he calls me up, says, come to a meeting. I go to the meeting, and he's talking about, the president of the university, which included, by the way, a hospital, large hospital, as well as the regular university, said we should go public cloud. This guy was really smart. He's not anti-cloud because they ended up putting their backup and archive workloads in the cloud. But they profiled all their workloads. He was smart. He went to the CFO and said, I need the stud muffin of Excel. So the CFO gave it to the CIO, and they profiled all. And then he said, give me a profile of the 4 largest cloud providers on the planet. Here's their names. The guy did all the research, put together spreadsheets. And for all mid and high-end workloads, it was cheaper to be on-prem.
Wow.
So to me, that's the ideal hybrid cloud play. And there's also been articles where many end users have been quoted about repatriating particularly high-end, high-performance applications out of the cloud and back on-prem. So I would say the world is going to be hybrid cloud. It's not going to be on-prem anymore. It's not going to be off-prem either. It's going to be a combination, and you need to profile your application, your workload, and your use case. What do I need it for? How does it impact day-to-day operations that have nothing to do with IT? And then what's the cost to constantly move data back and forth, and then figure out what you can afford. And then obviously you have SLAs. If you want that SAP workload that was 2 hours in the past to be 20 minutes, and we actually have a couple end users who've done this, they went from 2 to 3 hours to 20 minutes when they went to our on-prem InfiniBox SSA all flash. You put that on the cloud, there's no way you're going to go from 2 to 3 hours to 20 minutes. You're going to stay and probably extend 2 to 3 hours to 5 to 6, even if you order the highest performance. And then all the transactions back and forth of that high-end SAP workload or Oracle or your Mongo or Cassandra, you have to pay for that. So yes, you have to pay when you buy your storage and your server, obviously, but you can amortize that. You can do storage as a service, which we offer, which is, of course, cloud-like pricing, goes up and goes down. The server guys are doing the same thing. So moving from a CapEx to an OpEx model, you can do that without going off-prem, and you don't have issues of security, performance, and availability. And then you hybrid out, and certain workloads go to the cloud and other workloads stay on-prem. And clearly backup, I would argue when you're backing up that high-end Oracle workload, that can go off-prem, right? Because you're backing it up. Or if you're archiving like financial data, no problem. But the day-to-day stuff, that's a big issue. So that's a big thing. Hybrid cloud is here to stay. I don't think the world's ever going to change. And hybrid cloud is a really valid, good solution for lots of workloads.
Yeah, really important. I see you also have some guarantees that you offer customers. That's kind of unheard of in terms of resilience against cyber attacks and SLAs.
Yeah.
Is that a new model for the industry?
So people have been doing it for a while, not around the cyber side so much. A few of the backup vendors have done stuff around cyber. There have always been in the primary storage space performance guarantees and availability guarantees. We give 100% availability guarantee. Not everybody does this, by the way, but we do. But some other vendors do too. I can think of 2 that will offer you 100% availability guarantee on certain of their products. Then you've got performance guarantees. Those are the oldest guarantees out there. Every vendor will profile. So they'll come to Evan Crystal Incorporated. Let's profile. Are you looking at a hybrid array or an all-flash array? Then you figure it out. And then based on which of the arrays you're looking at, because obviously all flash is faster than a hybrid in most workloads, then you figure it out and they'll put that in writing. And we absolutely do that. And then the cyber one for primary storage is new. No one's announced anything but us. So what we do is, first of all, there's 4 legs of the cybersecurity stool from a storage perspective. One is you have to make immutable snapshots. Non-changing, can't change. Second thing is you want to create an air gap between the management plane and the data plane. Okay. Someone could steal management credentials, blah, blah, blah. So you create this air gap. So once you've started the immutable snapshot process, you can't touch it and the admin can't delete it. So if he gets mad about something, he can't delete it out of anger. If his or her profile gets stolen, again, no one can do anything. Third is creating a fenced forensic environment. Remember, malware and ransomware are done surreptitiously. So no one's knocking on the door saying, I'm going to hold you for ransom, right? They don't. And of course, you've seen the high profile ones. I guess there was one just with one of the, it might have been Comcast. I can't remember if it was Comcast or if it was
One of the big telcos. I mean, a lot
oh
of them
yes,
go
yes. And then the city of
unreported.
Oakland
I mean,
just
they
held for
they
ransom here in California. So
wow.
it happens all the time. By the way, it's such an issue that last week, the United States federal government issued the 2023 National Cybersecurity Strategy.
Mm.
And then last year, also in March, the US government announced the Cyber Incident Reporting Act, which mandates whether you're a government agency, not just the federal government, but the city of Pleasanton where I live or the state of California, have to let the US government know what's going on. And then it also extends to private companies, from Herzog's Bar and Grill to General Motors, and all foreign companies doing business in the US. So as you know, for example, Toyota is huge, right? Factories all over the United States. They have a big design center down in Los Angeles. So if they had a cyber attack at Toyota LA or in one of their factories, they do have to report that to the government. So that was last year. Then announced the cybersecurity strategy. And yesterday, the TSA announced new cyber security for airports, airlines. It was just announced yesterday.
Wow.
So this is huge. So it's going to happen. So you've got the last thing you want is you think you're protected, you clean off, and then you restore, and you're restoring the malware ransom. Remember, it's all done surreptitiously, so you don't know. And then lastly is how fast you can recover. Since it's going to happen, how fast can you bring it back? So our guarantees on both the InfiniBox and the InfiniBox SSA primary storage and on the InfiniGuard secondary storage are built around two things. One, we guarantee the snap is immutable. We guarantee it. And we back that up in writing with financial remuneration if we don't deliver. Okay. Second thing we do is we guarantee recovery. So on February 23rd, we did a webinar mostly for Europeans. We're actually repeating the webinar on April 4th. So for those in North America, it'll be 1:00 US time. You can sign up at infinidat.com. And it's all about cyber resilient storage. That's the whole thing. As part of that, we did 2 live demos. And Evan, you've known me well, so you know I'm kind of crazy. So I don't pre-record anything. So when we do a webinar, it's live. So we did live a recovery of 20 petabytes of Veeam backup data. 20 petabytes.
Wow.
We recovered that 20 petabytes of Veeam backup data in 11 minutes and 55 seconds.
You're a brave man doing that.
We then did a recovery of an InfiniBox and recovered like 150,000 files. And we made sure they were large files, not Word files in Excel, but we created a whole bunch of JPEGs and MPEGs, big files, and recovered those 150,000 files in 4 seconds.
Wow.
So we guarantee on the InfiniGuard, we will do the recovery in 20 minutes or less. And we did 20 petabytes in 11 minutes and 55 seconds. And then on primary storage, the InfiniBox, the InfiniBox SSA, we will guarantee the recovery in under 1 minute, regardless of the size of the data set. Both of those are regardless. So if it was a 1 petabyte Veeam backup data set or 20, it's still guaranteed under 20 minutes. And on the InfiniBox SSA, whether it's, 50 terabytes, 500 terabytes, a petabyte, we will guarantee the recovery again in under 1 minute. And we did, again, 20 petabytes of backup data, 11 minutes and 55 seconds, and 150,000 large files in 4 seconds. And it's all live. So we have a video, but I would encourage those in North America, Mexico, Canada, we will be doing the exact same webinar on April 4th at 1:00 US Eastern time.
Amazing. Well, it's I'm sure something to watch and rewatch. So the numbers are incredible. The other trend we're seeing, of course, is the move to a more sustainable future, sustainable architectures and infrastructure. I was at an NTT event recently talking about their next generation optical infrastructure, and the number one design goal now for everything they do at NTT, whether it's in the data center or the cloud or the edge or wherever, is sustainability. They're baking that in. You have quite a story around that as well, in terms of reducing, footprint, carbon emissions, efficiency, power. Tell us more.
So we see 2 elements to that. So first of all, in October, we announced a new larger capacity InfiniBox and a larger capacity InfiniGuard. In fact, the InfiniGuard is up to 85 petabytes, for backup and archive. And with both of those announcements, we were able to create up to a 42% better power and cooling profile per petabyte. Okay. The second way you achieve this is through consolidation. So let's take an example. We have a $20 billion retailer in the United States. They were using 24 arrays from 3 different competitive vendors, three different vendors, 24 physical boxes. They have now consolidated that to 4 InfiniBoxes, from 24 to 4.
Wow.
So their savings on capital and operational expenditures in the first year was $10 million. We have another customer who consolidated hundreds of arrays from 2 competitors down to around 100. So I'm talking like 300 to 100. They saved on CapEx alone $104 million over a 5-year time horizon by switching that. But what that all does is when you consolidate, you reduce what I like to call watts, slots, power, and floor space. Okay. You also clearly reduce operational manpower. If you've got 100 arrays and you go to 10, or in the example I gave you here in the US of that retailer, which was 24 to 4, less cables to go bad, less power to go right. So less floor space. So the operational manpower goes down, but so does the power and cooling. So I would argue that you get the 2 E's. Okay. You not only get
not Eric and Evan. There's another 2 E's.
Not Eric and Evan, but you get the economics and you get the environment. So by consolidating, you not only cut the watts, the slots, the power, and the floor space, and the operational manpower, but you have to pay for power and cooling. So you not only get the benefit of a more environmentally friendly environment, but you also get the benefit of economic reduction, OpEx savings, and CapEx savings. And then lastly, when I go to retire, so those InfiniBoxes are 8 years old. Time to get the brand new InfiniBox Pro for sake of argument. Okay. When I have 24 arrays, I'm recycling 24 things. And those have all kinds of toxic chemicals. There's chips in the mid plane, chips on the array controller. So you have to recycle all that. Now they've consolidated to 4 InfiniBoxes. When they buy the new InfiniBoxes, 5-8 years from now, they only need to recycle 4 arrays. So the environmental impact of that recycling, when you have 24, the environmental impact is much larger. And by the way, to do it safely, you pay a recycling expert, right? You don't have the IT guys do it. You call up a company that specializes it, and there's toxic stuff in computer material and in storage. So that's ought to be handled properly. So you pay for that. When you're doing it for 24 versus doing it 5 years later for only 4, that recycling process, A, you recycle less, and B, it's going to cost you less. So that's why I call it the double E, environmentally friendly and economically friendly at the same time. And we can do that again with A, just what we did with our new design that came out in October, but B, by consolidating these arrays. And we have tens and tens of examples. We've gone from hundreds to 100, from 24 to 4, from 16. We had one customer in EMEA. They went, in this case, purpose-built backup. So they had 14 purpose-built backup appliances from a competitor. Now they have 2 of our InfiniGuards. So it's the same issue. You have to recycle all that stuff. You have the operational expense. Now, obviously, purpose-built backup appliances don't generate as much heat and power as a primary storage array, but still, you have to heat and power it. So you had to heat and power 14. Now that customer, which by the way happens to be a cloud service provider, now they're only heating and cooling 2 purpose-built backup appliances. So they not only saved money, economics, but they're helping save the environment. So those 2 things actually go together. And most people don't realize, they think being environmentally friendly costs more money. In this case, it costs less. And when you get to the recycling phase at the end of the life cycle, you're definitely saving a ton of money, and you're being much more ecologically friendly because you're recycling 4 arrays instead of 24. And that saves the environment, but also saves you money on disposing of those toxic materials, which are in storage. It's just the reality, right?
Yeah, I see the CFO side of you coming out now. It really is. I can see that spreadsheet ticking in your head. And actually, E&E is I was a double E engineering major. And so all these speeds and feeds talk makes me warm and fuzzy inside. So really super interesting. So what's next? I mean, you have a lot going on. We're all getting out in the world at events, but we're doing more virtual events. Anything you're excited about over the next few weeks, month or two?
Yeah, we're doing a couple. Couple things. So the big one for us is going to be our launch, very focused on cybersecurity and then hybrid cloud storage. That'll be at the end of May. Between now and then, there are a number of different events we're doing. VeeamON, of course, the big backup show. Veeam's one of our partners. Will be there. We are at KubeCon, which, as you know, the next one is in Amsterdam in April. We're actually going to be presenting in the Kasten by Veeam booth about what we do with container support, both for primary and for backup, right? Because Kasten's on the backup side. So we're going to talk about how we work with Kasten with both our InfiniBox, our InfiniBox SSA, and then our CSI driver. We're doing a VMware event in Europe, and that's going to be in Croatia. It's not really
terrible place, just horrible place to visit. You pick the worst.
I've never been there, but I've heard it's going to be beautiful.
I've never been either, but it looks stunning. So
and I'm one of the keynote speakers at that event. So we're doing that, and then obviously at infinidat.com in the events section, we do events all over the world. Some are big and some are small. And I argue the biggest one, particularly for North America customers and possibly for those maybe UKI and is this big cyber resilience webinar that we're going to do. We're talking about why storage is important in a corporate cybersecurity strategy. We're going to do the same 2 demos that we did when we did the European version of that. We're going to walk through how does InfiniSafe work, what does it do, and by the way, we include InfiniSafe with every InfiniBox, InfiniBox SSA, and InfiniGuard at no additional price. So that cyber storage resiliency is embedded. You don't have to use it, but you get that software for free. It costs you nothing. So we'll be talking about what it does for you, how it delivers, and obviously we'll be doing those 2 recoveries again. And we will, yes, Evan, doing them live. We have a practice session next week and a practice session at the end of March. We will do the recoveries live, as a practice, and then we will do them live on April 4th. So those are the events, but there's a host of other ones. I encourage people to look at the events section of www.infinidat.com.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining me live and sharing all the insight, analysis, and interesting work at Infinidat. I look forward to catching up soon.
Great. Thank you very much, Evan. Always love talking to you. And of course, all of your listeners and all of the viewers on all of your both podcasts and your live streams.
Yeah. Thanks for viewing, folks. It really was informative, and catch you next time. Bye, everyone.